Share your screen.
So hello, I'm Joshua Ringer, Associate Extension Administrator at Langston University School of Agriculture and Applied Sciences. I'm going to share my screen in just a bit here, and so I can show you a few pictures. But I do want to just say how it's an honor to partner with ONI, the ONI project. They do great programming, and with ODAF, Oklahoma Department of Ag, Food and Forestry, and other partners. So we're excited, our whole Langston team, to be able to kick off this first session, and then next tomorrow be able to interact with you. Some of us down at the actual virtual site at South Klein Avenue at the Oklahoma City Farmers Market, and then some of us at the different satellite sites. So that's what I want to mention too as I get started here, and I'll go ahead and do it into display mode. So
there you go.
Let's see, here we go, there we go. Okay, and so our partners here, we really appreciate. One of the things that we just realized over the time with COVID this last year, so much, all the programming that we were really gearing up to get going was just put on hold. And so we were really thinking, how do we engage, how do we interact when we as an institution, educational institution, for the protection of our students and faculty, had to shut down many of our activities. And so a lot of us, what we did as faculty, as researchers and as extension staff, was to go out into the field. And you can see a picture there on this beginning slide of Mr. Micah Anderson with partners down in Southwest Oklahoma. When we looked at this, we're like, one of the issues we've got is everyone shifted to virtual presentations, using Zoom, people becoming familiar with Zoom, and all of our, our students that are in elementary, K through 12, switching to Zoom. But the issue we saw is that many people don't have good internet access, or we've only got one iPad for the whole family, and our kids need to use it, but then we don't have anything for adults. And how do we keep interacting, and how do we share programming? And so one of the ways we saw that, okay, if this conference, when we partner with ONI and ODAF, we want to try and have satellite sites so that we can find a location, in a central location, where those that don't have good internet access can maybe travel, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, still be in a safe, COVID safe protocols, where we've got hand cleaner and face mask and proper social distancing, but that they can access the things that many of those of us that are in metropolitan areas that have good internet access. And so all that to say, we thought, okay, on this conference, as far as Langston University, we want to try to do the best we can to begin piloting, well, how can we help engage those that don't have as good access to internet? So we developed some set of satellite sites together with our partner, the Healthy Oklahoma Initiative, Laney Porter's group out of Muskogee. And so I do want to say to our partners, and I'm going to have to check on my phone here, but we have Laney Porter's group there in Muskogee. We have a location in Wagner and a location in Tahlequah, and also one of our staff members, and they're in North Tulsa, is also helping a group access internet at a central location, and we believe at Edgerac, one of the charter schools there. So we want to thank our partners there in Muskogee. So Laney Porter is working, and our host there for today is the Oklahoma's OSU Extension Office there. So we appreciate those that are there. Also in Muskogee, where's it in Muskogee today?
OSU Extension, and at the Palace.
At the Palace tomorrow. And then in Wagner, we've got it at the Eternity Center, I think. And then Tahlequah, we worked with Marla Sager, Tahlequah Farmers Market, and we're hosting it there at 2 different locations on Northeast State University's campus there in Tahlequah. So we're going to try this. We may not have a lot of participants come face to face, but this is the effort to reach out to those rural communities or urban communities that don't have as much access to the internet. Okay, and so our Langston University Cooperative Extension and Outreach Program, we are a land grant university. Okay, and so that means we're just like Oklahoma State University, except our mandate is to focus on those groups of the population that are not well reached by Oklahoma State University. And so we are also, of course, so the 1890 Land Grant University means that we have research. So our goat research, our horticulture research, aquaculture, and in areas of food and nutrition. We also, we research, we're a teaching university. We have students that can get those agriculture degrees here at Langston, and then we do extension programming, which is what I administer here at the university. And so we're also, of course, Oklahoma's historically Black university, the HBCU of Oklahoma. And so with that history and that unique story, that's very important to us, that we play a role in bringing about more equal opportunities for those throughout the state that may not have had as much opportunity in the past or been disadvantaged. And so we really want to be a partner with you, and we want to help solve the problems you have as communities and farmers throughout the state, both in rural areas and in the urban settings. And we also seek to be, this is why we're so big about partnership, a community engaged university. And our extension staff, we really focus on this role of facilitating. We're a facilitator, and then also we're providing technical expertise in whichever area we have experience with. Okay, and so the facilitation is, can we bring together partnerships that are advantageous? Through our connections with United States Department of Agriculture, can we help you write that next grant that helps fund activity or training or program in your community as it relates to food and nutrition and agriculture? And then we really want to play a role, and have been playing a role, and we'll continue to build in this area of farm to fork, where our farms are connected to those who consume the food. And most of our stakeholders, the people that work with us in our African-American communities, our Hispanic communities, Native American, and our Hmong communities, there's this, a lot of us don't have very large farms. And so with small farms, we really need to focus on how can we bring quality, nutritious food to the marketplace and to consumers in our urban settings and in our communities. And so we're really focused on that and helping you get the most value for what you produce. Okay, so there's 4 different areas. I always like to come back to this and remind everyone as I talk about our extension programming that we have 4 main program areas that really meets the needs and addresses those main issues that communities have. And one is in production agriculture. So animals, for instance, small ruminants like goats and hair sheep. And then we also partner, if we don't have expertise in an area, let's say it's small scale cattle raising, we'll partner with Oklahoma State University specialists and other community specialists that may be out there to provide training. And also then plant production. So we've got animals and plant production. And then we know how important it is for communities to be able to better manage the resources, be better able to get better income from their activities through agriculture. And so that's why we have management and sustainability. And also, and this is where we tie in our community development in the urban areas and also our rural development areas. So like, for instance, Langston University is here in the town of Langston. It's been here, and actually the town of Langston lobbied to get, and when it was right at the beginning of statehood, lobbied to get the 1890 land grant placed here in the town of Langston. And yet, like many smaller towns, or one of the historically Black towns, and also other towns throughout the state of Oklahoma, there's been population decline, and the job opportunities have been lessened. And so we look to engage with these communities like Langston, communities like Rentisville, communities like Tatum's, Oklahoma, and Boley, Oklahoma, to engage those communities in developing, new opportunities for young people and connecting them to USDA programs like rural development that can help fund community buildings and opportunities like that. So we'll come and we'll talk. We'll have agro-enterprise training. We've got a new staff member that was speaking later, Mr. James Arati, talking about agro-enterprise. He'll be talking about air properties. And so we believe this is very important for our stakeholders and you in the community that need advice on how to better engage and better prepare for getting, for instance, USDA microloans. The third area we've got is nutrition. Nutrition, healthy food. We want fresh food in the hands of children throughout the state so they get used to eating high quality food that's not heavily processed. And then they know and connect it to, I can even produce this in my backyard in a container. I can grow this in my backyard. Then also food security. That's been a big issue that we've seen as this COVID pandemic, as people have lost jobs, that there's just a need for being more food secure in both urban and rural communities. And then finally, food safety. And this, as we're selling products, we're selling vegetables, we're trying to get perhaps beef or goat processed so that we can sell to a local market. We have to understand what are the regulations as far as food safety, and how can we make sure our production meets those needs. And also as consumers, how do you identify safe food? How do you store food safely? Okay, and so the fourth area, it's not the least, because I've got it last here, but it really is so important. If we do not take care and focus on our next generation, then agriculture will quickly disappear. And it doesn't matter what population segment in the state or what location, we see the trend toward many of the experienced producers are in their late 50s, early 60s, and are, we were wondering where the youth are. And so that's why we got 4-H and youth development programming. Now the OSU and the county extension offices have 4-H programming. And so we look to find those areas in communities where it's not as accessible, that we can also fill a role there. And so we do this with special grant projects like in North Tulsa, partnering with Oklahoma State University and their Children, Youth, and Families at Risk program. We look to start many other programs like that, for instance, in Boley, Oklahoma, and in other areas near Wagner. And so these are our 4 main areas that we've got. And I mentioned some of the areas. So we've got a historical Black town focus. And so we will be engaging that way. And then we've got urban work, both in Oklahoma City, in North Tulsa, East Tulsa, and we're really focusing also on Eastern Oklahoma and South Central Oklahoma. Now we're a smaller entity. We've only got about 15 staff now, but we are growing, and that we hope to interact with you. And as we've been able to make the technology leap and transition to become much more able to deliver virtual programming. And so that's something I'm very proud of Langston University and the upgrades that the administration and our dean have pushed forward that have allowed us to offer much more programming. So we will offer careful, COVID safe protocols for in-person training. And then we're pushing all this year to make sure that all of those also have a virtual option. So one of the things, one of our champions is Micah Anderson. All of you know him well. He spoke last year at and did a plasticulture presentation and conference, or at the conference last year when it was the Oklahoma Farmers Market and Agritourism Conference. And so we're really focusing on how to make agriculture technology accessible. So whether it's plasticulture equipment, whether it's new ways to digitally monitor or manage water and lessen labor, we don't think it's just for the big 1,000-acre farmer in Oklahoma who deserves that kind of technology. It's also even our small farms on half an acre, et cetera, okay? We're also providing educational outreach. So we work closely with SARE. So like the SARE, this Sustainable Agriculture Research and Extension Program. We've got several projects, both in our GOAT programming and in our horticulture programming to get information out and research that's relevant for producers like yourself, or those, and that's, remember, this session here at Langston, we're really wanting to reach out to those new and beginning farmers that don't have a lot of experience, or those of you that are new to agriculture, okay? And you grew up, you remembered, you were you grew up and remembered going to granddad's farm many years ago, and you went and had a career, or you got started doing one thing and now you want to get back into producing food, be it backyard garden all the way up to a small farm area, small acreage, or your air properties that suddenly, in the past was never accessible to you, but now you've worked it out and you've got access to 10 acres. We want to help you make that area profitable and beneficial for you and your family. And I think that's one of the lessons also from from COVID here, is that that how important it is to be resilient. We have great food systems here in the United States, but as all of you know, many of us there's food deserts, we don't get access to it. And then even with those who have some access, the minute there is a shock to the system, whether it's a unexpected 100-year cold blizzard and cold spell to disruptions in the system due to a pandemic, very quickly we become not very resilient and we are at risk. And so we want you and your families to be more resilient in that way. And so as you can see here, some of the pictures that we've got one of our crop technicians, Mr. Eric McHenry, helping pass out SARE material 2 years ago at our plasticulture conference. And then Dean Whitaker, Micah Anderson, Eric McHenry, and Mr. Dwight Guy at one of our new the Langston Farmers Market that we continue to grow and build on. And then one of our conferences where we're honoring those who have given us a legacy in farming, in production, and we want them to be able to share that experience. So that's one of the other things that we're very big about here at Langston in the School of Agriculture is we want farmers to be sharing with other farmers. We want more experienced farmers to be sharing with new and beginning farmers. And so we want to help facilitate those partnerships so that you can get some life lessons from those who've experienced it. So what are some of the things that we do to help fund that? One of them is the 2501 Limited Resource Farmers and Ranchers Program. This is out of the Office of Public Partnerships and Engagement out of USDA. And so this program is for you. So I'm definitely going to give you my email address in the chat. You can find me on Whova on the app, but this is where we are going to be reaching out and providing training in communities, whether it's a training about how to integrate hair sheet with small scale cattle raising to better utilize your pasture, or it's training like we're going to be doing in Boley, Oklahoma about getting started with sustainable gardening. We've got that program. So if you've got your community-based organization that's interested, contact us. Another grant program we've got is the Small Farm Agripreneurship Program. We want to be, when you've got you're a quarter of an acre or even less than that, backyard gardening, all the way up to if you have 50 acres, we want you to come talk to us. We want to be the resource for you and connect you with good technology, share good resources and tools you have for your small farm. Okay, and so we've got a capacity building grant program to look at agripreneurship around small farms. And a lot of us, if you're thinking in what you understand about agriculture 30 years ago, and you're going to be surprised as you interact with us, and you'll hear tomorrow on day 2 many good examples of how you can make, through either agritourism or high value production to a very selected clientele, you can make make a very profitable income in small farming. You just have to do it and do it right. And so we want to help you with that. Another thing, last year I talked about at the Oklahoma Farmers Market Conference, I talked about Native American and indigenous growing systems. So we have a research and education grant about market gardening, but utilizing Native American traditional polycultures, meaning all that integration of the 3 sisters, and the fourth sister for the Pawnee is our sunflowers. But how can we make those traditional systems useful for us as far as market gardening? And so we have worked with the Pawnee Nation, and we have programs that we would like to initiate with many other of the sovereign nations here in Oklahoma. One other important grant we do have is the COVID-19 Rapid Response for Minority Farmers grant. This grant is all about providing education to horticulture producers or any small farm program around meat, and if you're producing meat for the local markets, how to respond, how to protect against COVID-19. So we'll roll that out. If you're interested in that, we've got training that will add to the safety growers, the PSA training that many of you may have taken. And if you haven't, then we've got trainings around that, how to reconnect those value chains so you can sell to farmers, okay? Or sell to the markets in a safer way. Okay, so now I am gonna ask our facilitator here too. I want to also thank our communications director here at Langston University School of Agriculture, Ms. Sonia Davis, because she's helped interact with Meredith and the Jade Owens and the rest of the team, Abigail, on helping us stay connected and using the Hoover app in these presentations. But I'm going to ask her if I'm getting too long. I'm going to make sure she's going to tell me. Because I get excited about these programs that we've got and where we're going. And we've got great people that are excited and passionate about helping your communities. So this is a picture here. We're with Mr. Micah Anderson, with a group of Hispanic youth from the Tulsa area, part of a program that OSU is implementing, and we're a part of that project also. But the Hispanic youth, here they're in the garden. Some of these kids, for the first time, are digging up a potato. Okay, now, many of us are used to this. If we've been in agriculture, or grew up on the farm, growing potatoes, digging up, that's hard work, and we don't want to keep doing that, or it's so used to us. But remember, there are so many kids in our urban settings, be they Hispanic, Native American, African American, or Caucasian, that have never experienced this. They don't have that connection to where food comes from, what is fresh food versus what is highly processed food from Walmart, okay? And so even the simple experiences like this are some of those first steps for helping our youth get engaged in agriculture, not the agriculture of your parents' or grandparents' generation, but the agriculture of a modern generation, where it is all about food and fiber, and using technology, integrating that with good science, and how it impacts the community in a positive way. And so we do demonstration gardens here in the town of Langston. and some of our research locations, and we're really big on experiential learning. So if you want help with that, that's a program area that we want to help with. So we do hope, like for instance, in Wagner and some of the kids that may not have exposure to this, we want to help partner with local organizations to have these experiential learning opportunities for 4-H youth. Okay, good. Okay. And like I mentioned, partnerships. So we're helping here in the town of Langston and working with TSET that helped fund a lot of programming for this. We are helping to grow new growers, right? No pun intended, new growers for this market. And so we're working with students who live in the community, with high school students that are right near this farmer's market, to get them for growing this season. So we're excited about that. Contact us later in the year or ask us more about that as we experience that. If you've had a good experience with helping bring new growers into a farmer's market, please tell us about it, okay? You see on this left picture, this is some of the great group from Pawnee Nation College. We're with Kim Murray, who's a faculty member and instructor there on her tribal allotment. And this is implementing field research on the SARE project. And so these volunteers working to do hands-on experience with putting in drip irrigation, assessing how we prepare the land, and doing soil testing. So we've got some scientific basis on how we implement this. And also, how do we access water and a sustainable use of water and efficient use. And so we want to also encourage you, if you and your organizations or on your farm, you want to look for more partnerships in this way, then we want to help work and do that. We've piloted some things, for instance, with Pawnee Nation College, that we think are applicable in a lot of other areas. But you think about this, tribal allotments, for instance, for the Pawnee, can be used by the family, but often there's no electricity to it to access it, and usually it's just leased out to someone. Well, many of the Pawnee are beginning to see, well, there's an opportunity where I can actually, grow food on an acre of a 20-acre allotment and actually make some income and have better food resiliency for my family. And so here's some of these research plots and demonstration plots. So very simple. You see there's a few weeds and stuff, but we're working on improving our mulching techniques. But this is the kind of thing that we want to interact with you throughout the state. And we'll keep you updated through our new website that we'll be rolling out later in the year here. Okay. I'm going to talk later on with my Deputy Associate Extension Administrator, Mr. Jeremiah Wilson. He and I are talking right at the end of this about students, internships, and opportunities. And, we had the Oklahoma Farmers Market conference meeting or conference last year. And then right after that, COVID hit. And so this is one of the things where I was talking about, the programming that we were wanting to do and pilot there with sovereign Native American nations. And so here's a great example. This is what we love to see, is partnerships where young people that have not ever hooked up a drip irrigation kit, have never been exposed to plasticulture or how to grow for a community garden, getting that experience. And so this really is one of the strongest things. And we've got students that may be interested at coming to Langston. There's a lot of different options if you're interested in agriculture. But what we do offer here at Langston is that this opportunity to, if you're a student here, you're going to be engaged with outreach that helps you understand how and gives you a tool set or toolkit to help engage communities. So for instance, in this case, experiential learning, with community members who sometimes, they graduated from high school, but they didn't go on to college or anything, but now they're back in the community. They would like to be engaged and have training. And so this is what we've offered, and we can do some of those things with you also in your communities. So as I'm finishing up here, just going back to this idea that we really want to focus on building capacity and community resilience. Okay, so that when we talk about, how do we help our rural communities? We've got 100 people left in the community, and the only job option is far away in, let's say, Muskogee, or it's in Oklahoma City. As these little rural areas become more connected to the internet, and that's one of the things to access services in the urban settings, that it becomes more and more option for younger people to still work and at the same time live in these communities. And so we want to explore those with you. How can we build that capacity? Can we with broadband access? And partnering with USDA Rural Development, or another program that may be rolled out in this new administration in the next 4 years. And so how can we help you connect to markets in a way that besides farmers markets, how can we use agritourism to help you interact and improve your production? Okay. So there are some challenges. So we still have the effects of COVID-19. There's still, food distribution has taken up a lot of time for our staff members as we're assisting local organizations in trying to provide access to food. We're also seeing a trend where there's so much more interest in producing in backyard settings, anything to try to alleviate the having to pay for food at the supermarket. And so we see that trend. We're going to be really pushing this year. We were hurt by COVID because it's harder to implement some of these grant programs and get it out to you guys and as community-based organizations and producers. And so this year we're really ramping up efforts to get that grant funding out. And we are continuing very carefully to hire new staff, even as sometimes budgets can be tight. And as Dr. Payton mentioned earlier, before I talked about building new facilities. So we have this horticulture center that will be coming online. We'll most likely get the key by February of 2022. And so we really hope and be excited to host some of you. And of course, if hopefully COVID will not be as big an issue by that time, but we would hope to host you at our Small Farms Conference there at that Horticulture Learning Center, and show you a lot of cool technology that you've always wondered about. You've seen it on the internet, but you'd love to get your hands on one of those new BCS tractors, or you'd like to see that new implement dealing with plasticulture and such. And so we also, I mentioned before, we want to see about how can we help with community-based organizations with remote learning equipment and internet access, so that there's more people throughout the state that can access the information they need to make their lives better. One of the things we emphasize here at Langston, we're smaller than for instance, the Oklahoma State University, but we really want to emphasize the fact that we're family. We have to take care of family and take care of each other. And we understand when we hear the concerns you have from your communities about frustrations of different things and resources that you need. We hear that, and we want to be family with you. To how can we partner together in a way that that brings out a better outcome for both of us. And so we get what is our purpose? And we talk about teaching. We want to get good students that come in and get that opportunity to get that great job, an internship at USDA, or get that great job with some of the big agriculture companies. But we also want to see those graduates that come and say, you know what, I really want to go back to my community. I want to develop start a new foundation, and I want to work on community nutrition and those kind of issues. We want all of those students to come to Langston. We also, on our research, we want to hear from you. We've listened to you last year and the year before. We're developing research that specifically meets pressing needs that you've got, for instance, like with squash bugs and different programming like that. We also want to be interacting with you through extension. And so sometimes it's extension staff, but of course that's always limited. So it's also through partnerships. So we can have, so we will start having this year also partnership meetings with our partners throughout the state. So if you want to be a part of that, please email me, and we would love to see, are there ways we can partner? Now, one of the things I just do want to emphasize as I finish up here, I've got about 10 minutes, okay, and then I will definitely have time for questions, but how do you partner with Land Grant University? You know, how do you partner with us? One of the ways is definitely help us get organized training opportunities. Good example of that is what Healthy Oklahoma is doing with us, and Tahlequah Farmers Market and ONI Project, helping us partner together to provide training and training for you. We can't provide funding for your organization. We're not a funder for a community-based organization. What we do partner with is educational activities, demonstration. So if you have programming that is going to be, impacting youth or new farmers, beginning farmers, then we can partner to develop a demonstration site, and it has to have educational opportunities with that. Okay, so that producers, new farmers can implement what you're demonstrating. So that's one of the key ways we'd like to partner. So I want to go back to the very end here about our, if you're a new and beginning farmer, if you've got an air property that suddenly you have access to, 5 acres, 10 acres, give us a call, email me, and we will help interact with you. If we can't provide what you need, we'll try to help you connect with those who can. But we want to help you become more resilient and get greater income for your property that you've got. And a lot of us, that's what we'll work through on our agro-enterprise training. Some of us don't have access to any property, okay? And so we will work with you to help bridge partnerships, find people that does have property that's willing to work with you, so that you can help do a leasing arrangement so you can get into production. Okay, and so we'll help you as kind of help you understand what the information you need to make a better leasing arrangement. Okay, help see some of the pitfalls from other people that have done it before in the past. Okay, so and the other thing, we'll talk about this in the last talk about mentorship. That's very important too, and we want to work on programming that helps with that. So that's pretty much, that's what I want to share with you. And I consider it the opening, the beginning of a conversation, both this afternoon through the Whova app, and then tomorrow also as the conference continues. I may not be able to be there in person down in Oklahoma City tomorrow, but definitely, and because I may be out at a satellite site, but definitely through Whova and through my email address, you can contact me. And I will put that in one of the chats for this next talk, so you'll have my email address.
I just added your email. It's
okay, Miss Sonia Davis has done that for us. So let me go ahead and exit the, I'll stop my share here.
You can look at your chat if you
and
want.
See, we got anything in the chat? Oh, there we go. Okay, good. Okay, does anyone have any questions for me? I don't know how close we are to the end.
Still got, it's 10:12. We stopped at 10:20. Doing good.
12, okay. Anyone have any questions that they'd like to ask, either in the chat or you can call me directly?
They can unmute.
Or yeah, you can just unmute, and then ask me. Okay, yeah, don't forget. Okay, yes. But don't forget also on those satellite locations, we're trying to keep a list there so that we can get in contact with you afterwards and see, what was the experience. And when we have future events like the Small Farmers Conference, And we'll probably split that into 2 events, one in the beginning or middle of the year, one at the end of the year. And so we hope to continue to use these satellite sites. Yes, Meredith, do you have anything there on poll results or?
Well, I was thinking about relaunching it since we have a lot more people on right now. So we're gonna relaunch the poll real quick so we have a better idea of who we have in the room. The questions are asking about your experience with farming and agriculture, and the other one is your experience with virtually conferences. So we're gonna relaunch this poll now.
Okay.
All right. And so, and again, I've always appreciate working with Langston. You guys are just so easygoing with everything. So we've had a lot of fun putting this together and making sure this conference works smoothly. So, but please be honest with us. This is our first, or at least Oni's first time to host a virtual conference. And so let us know your feedback, ideas, also in your evaluations and everything. We are also wanted to remind everybody to complete your session evaluations. And they're going to be on, they're on Whova. That helps us know about the different topics, what you like, didn't like, what you like to see more of, as well as, you know, like Dr. Ringer mentioned, in those community chats, you can ask more specific questions, really get some engagement going. So I linked those the chat on this Zoom chat. So lots of chats going on.
So let me, I do want to mention, we have in October, we have an aquaponics conference that we've partnered with Symbiotic Aquaponics and the Aquaponics Association to hold. We had that last year, so we'll have that. That's an outreach event that you can put on your calendars. I'll get the dates out for you. The other thing we have is we've always traditionally had the Goat Field Day. And so that's going to be virtual this year. We're doing some virtual tours of the goat farm, lots of hands-on things, but virtually. So many of you may not have been able to experience that before, but I mean, remember, goat production, you may not be familiar with it, but you know, with goat production, there are some great advantages as far as marketing. And so, and that ability to, on a smaller area of land, to bring income to your family. So that will be in, I think it's the first, I think May the 1st is when that date is, but I will get that information out so it'll be exact for you. And that'll be virtual, like I said.
And we, I think it would be okay since we've started about at 9 if we wanted to take a quick break in between. So why don't we take a quick break, and once we are, I believe we have Micah starting at 10:30, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you guys have a few minutes to go refill your coffees and everything before we go with Micah Anderson, such a state expert, knows a lot about ag, especially farmers market ag. And so see you guys at 10:30.
Okay, thank you.